Alright, what's going on? My name is Chris, and today we're going to do a tutorial about 3D tracking, specifically a clip from my music video, Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word by Elton John. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and start this recording. Let's see. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and add these assets down below and the clip if you wanted to play around with it. But this was the original clip down here. It's very long. So during the day of the shoot, I had one of my friends hold up one of my RGB lights that has a lightning flash mode on it to resemble lightning to help reduce the amount of work I have to do in After Effects. So once I kind of figured out this clip and figured out what I wanted to do, I went ahead and trimmed that down to this main piece right here. You'll notice that it has this yellow FX box on it. This clip was shot in 60 frames a second, so all I did was go into Premiere Pro and make it a kind of, I just kind of made it slow motion. If that makes any sense. Let me see. Also, fair warning that if you do decide to do this, make sure that your sequence settings is at 24 frames a second. That'll make it a little bit smoother, as you can see. So that will help out a lot. So yeah, once you go ahead and do that, you're gonna right click on the video clip in the timeline, and you're gonna click replace with After Effects composition. And then after that, it's just gonna ask you to save this file somewhere, just so After Effects knows what you're talking about. I'm gonna name this tutorial, and I am going to click save. Let's see if I did click save. Let me see. Ooh, that's not good. Let's try this again. Okay. Let's name this tutorial. Okay, there we go. So once I do that, you're just going to drag this clip in and put it down on the little clip where it has the three shapes on it. After that, we're good. I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to go to my downloads and add in that that footage. And all it is a cloud. You can find this anywhere. I found this off of footage.crate.com. So if you want to look at all their other assets, feel free to do so. But that's where I got this from. But yeah, and then all you're gonna do is also notice that my time, or the way that I set up my After Effects, may look different than yours. I just have it on the default setting, but you can easily take this, drag it around to your liking. You don't have to have your timeline or your window set up like mine in order for this to work, obviously. But I'm gonna take this footage, move it here. I'm gonna put it here, but I'm gonna turn that off for now. I'm gonna click this P1110060 clip, and I am going to go over to Tracker, and I'm going to click Track Camera. Now this is gonna take a second, but just know that all this is gonna do is kind of make our clip, it's just gonna check the camera motion that I made this in 3D space, so that way when I add the footage cloud in there, it'll kind of make more sense as I go along. But all I'm doing is just tracking the frames, which is 3,330. It's a lot of frames. But also just know that you don't have to make this in 60. You don't have to slow down the clip like I did in order for this to work. It would definitely short down your render time. This clip was shot in 4K, so if your computer can't handle that, I can show you a couple of ways of mitigating that. You can go down to this little full section here, click that, and there should be a section to dim down the resolution in the viewport, so that way After Effects will have an easier time handling that. Let's see, that is fine. We're gonna keep that continuing. But yeah, so that's an option also in Premiere Pro. While that is loading, you can click this little button here, I believe, where it says full, and there'll be a couple of sections where it'll say 1/4, 1/8. That will just dumb down the resolution of the video clip, so it makes it easier to render. But when you render out the video, it will be at the full resolution that you initially imported it in. So just because you put it into the timeline and have Premiere Pro look at your footage 1/8 the resolution, it will not render at 1/8 the resolution. So that's something to keep in mind. But if we look at Premiere Pro for a second while After Effects is rendering, you'll notice that our little video clip here is pink. All that means is that there is an official link between this clip and the After Effects clip. So anything that happens in After Effects will happen in Premiere Pro. This is also to note that you can do this effect solely in After Effects. But when I made the music video, there were a lot of clips. And for me, Premiere Pro is a lot more user-friendly when it comes to just doing simple video editing. So it was a lot easier just to make some of these clips After Effects compositions and just keep editing that within Premiere Pro. So just as a reminder, the steps I'm doing here is not necessarily, might not be the best solution for you or the best way for you and your project. It all just is circumstantial, and it just depends on what you're doing. But yeah, this is gonna take a really long time to render. But yeah, that is essentially what's going on here. After the finished product, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second, but there'll be all these different multicolored dots on the screen that'll show you all the different points where I can track the footage and put things on top of. So I will let you know when this video clip within After Effects is done rendering. Alright, so I'm back. A couple of updates. While I was letting the video render out, for one, I made the clip really big. In the original music video that I created, this specific clip only lasted about a few seconds. Maybe it was no longer than 10, in between 5 to 7 seconds. So the clip doesn't need to be even that big from what I made it. So in order to help the computer better render out the footage, I trimmed down the video like a lot, so that helped it out. Now if you look here, you'll kind of see these multicolored points everywhere. This is what the camera tracked. These are points that it notices a difference between high and low contrasted areas, which is why right here you'll see like the little outlet, there's like this dark little shadow here and there's this light area. After Effects recognizes that this is a solid track, and you'll notice that some pop up, but for the most part they kind of stay consistent throughout. It only changes when we start getting closer to the model. But yeah, so the plan is I'm gonna choose a point that's relatively near, like, to the actor's head. Since this is a different clip, it won't be the exact same as what I did in the music video, but this will come close. I'm gonna right click on a point, and then I'm going to click null and camera. Once I do that, you'll see this little track in null 1 come up, and you'll notice that this little 3D box gets selected. That is what converts a layer into 3D space. If you don't have this option, I believe you can go up to your windows and it'll be down here like tracker and things of that nature. But it should be here for the most part. If not, there are tons of tutorials on how to help you get that set up. But anyway, once you do that, I'm just going to take my cloud piece up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to also make it a 3D layer. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on now. And you'll notice it's like this big, huge cloud that's up here. But if you notice, when you play back the footage, which also, by the way, the full thing I was talking about earlier, you can turn it down to a third. You'll notice that the resolution might be a little bit different for you. You can kind of see that microwave box right there. When I put it down to a third, it all of a sudden gets very blurry. That just kind of helps After Effects better kind of render out these frames. But anyways, as it's very slowly working with this footage, you kind of notice that this that the cloud is in 3D space. You can see as the camera, the physical camera that I was recording on the set is pushing forward, but you'll notice that it's not necessarily tracking to over the model's head like it was in the video. We're gonna get onto that, but in a second, I'm just kind of have to let this run out for a few more seconds. But while it's doing that, I want to talk a little bit about it. There are obviously a lot of different things you can do, even though this tutorial is just solely on the 3D tracking. In reference to my music video, there are definitely tons of ways that you can achieve this look. This is just one way of doing it. I'm not necessarily going to get into the in-depths of how I color grade the cloud to look like the background, and how I got the cloud to sync up to the lights that I had on set. If you want to, I can I guess make another tutorial on that. It's not really that difficult, but it's already done now. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this little pick whip tool that you see right here, and I'm just gonna drag it to the knoll. Now that knoll is this blue little tracker that's right here. Now that cloud is in that same position as that cloud, like they're synced to one another. In order for me to change that, I'm going to go to the transform tool, and you'll see this XYZ rotation. And you'll also see things like position and anchor point, stuff like that. This will kind of change where the cloud will be in 3D space. So you'll notice if I drag this Z space right here, you'll notice that it goes farther and farther back. I'm not decreasing the size. If you notice, I'm not in scale, I'm only in position. I'm dragging it back in Z space. And that's all that is. If I take this to the right, I'm gonna move this a little up, so it barely fits over my actor's head. Let's see, and then I'm gonna kind of shift this over just a little bit, about right there. Now I'm gonna go down to my rotation tools, and I'm gonna slowly rotate just a little bit. Because I don't want it to appear like it's in front of him. I want to make it look like it's right above him instead. So then if I just, now if you notice, if you play this back, it still it's still there. It's getting there. But we can definitely push this a little bit further. Let's see. Also, this cloud clip is a little big, so what I'm gonna do is gonna go here. I'm gonna hit Control Shift D to kind of cut that footage out. I'm gonna delete that last part, so it's kind of all the kind of same size. Go down to the last frame. That looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna go back and let this render out for a second. But yeah, that is essentially in a nutshell what this tutorial is. There's nothing fancy, but if done correctly, you can do some really creative things with it. I know it goes by really fast, and even you can kind of notice here, it's still not quite over his head. It's really trial and error. You won't get it perfect on the first try, but it's really just about practice. So I'm just gonna bring this up a little bit more. Okay, yeah, that looks a lot better. So yeah, and then if I go back to the beginning, boom. And that's essentially in a nutshell. Obviously with this, there's still a lot of things post-production wise you would have to do with this. For example, color grading the cloud so that way it matches the scene that I created. You would also have to do color grading, color correction, not in that order. Definitely do color correction first. And then I personally would make sure that the cloud of lightning syncs up to the lightning that I made from this LED light, so that way it doesn't look like it's fake. Obviously, when you watch the clip, you know that the cloud wasn't really there, but it just kind of adds onto that suspension of disbelief, if that makes any sense. And the best part about this is, like I said earlier, I did it in comp. So once you go back into After Effects, that'll probably take it a second to kind of load back up. But that's in a nutshell what it is. When you go back into Premiere Pro, it might act weird because I edited some things out, but just going back in this After Effects, in a nutshell, that is all that there is. For the clouds, I just did a simple tone curve, changed a little bit of the exposure, For the actual color grading of the clip, I ended up just changing the white balance and adding the little eyedropper to the wall, the widest portion of the scene that I could find, so I could balance out the image so it's not as green, so it's kind of balanced out. So I mainly just changed the tint, and then for the temperature, I kind of made it more bluish to kind of get that somber feeling. But yeah, in a nutshell, this was my tutorial. Thanks for watching.